And we're ready to go. So welcome everybody back to another in our series of Zoom chats with folks. Today we have a very special guest, Simon Wolf, who will be talking through a very brand new collaboration. You guys are seeing it. You will see it all here first before we post it out on our channels. So I will just hand it over to you, Simon, and tell us, to say hi to everybody. There's a number of RedBar members in the chat who are getting this sneak preview, which we'll then put on our YouTube channel tomorrow. But I'd love to, hear from you about your brand and what you guys do, and just talk us through that background first, and then we'll talk about the collaboration.
Sure. Well, hello, everybody. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. And it's kind of odd not knowing what the audience, who everybody is. Normally you have at least a Zoom call with people that you can see. So it's kind of fun not knowing who's out there.
You don't want to see these people.
Well, I've seen quite a lot of Instagram posts and some of the lovely alcohol you guys are drinking. So I'm sure I'd feel very comfortable in a room, in a bar with you all. I thought I'd just start with who the heck I am and why I'm in the box business in the way that I am. This is a family business. It's been in my family for 5 generations. We're 185, actually 186 years old this year. And it all started in 1834 in Germany. My great-great-grandfather was a silversmith, and he loved making silver, and he ended up making these lovely presentation boxes out of leather. And that's how the company was born back in 1834. And his son moved to Sweden and built a little factory there. And then my father came after 2 generations in Sweden. My father came to England in 1960, married my mother, who was English, and I was born in 64 and stayed in the UK until I was old enough to fly on a plane on my own at 22 and came to America. So the brand has got some serious roots back to Europe. I'm actually talking to you from my English office in the countryside of West Sussex in view of the beautiful South Downs, about 45 minutes from the outskirts of London. It's not raining today. In fact, it's been amazing weather here in England for the last month since I got back from Los Angeles. So, what we do is we create beautiful things by hand. We've been making by hand since day one. We are, in your world, folks, looking after your watch. It could be an automatic that needs turning in a particular direction every day. It could be a beautiful mechanical or a quartz watch that needs holding safely in a box, a beautiful presentation box, or a watch roll that you travel with. So we're fanatical about watches. We love taking care of them. It's about the health of your watch. It's about making you look lovely in a vehicle that's taking care of it. I don't want to sort of go too far forward, Kathleen, with everything. So I'll sort of pause there. But making boxes is in our blood, has been since the beginning of the company 185 years ago.
Yeah, and I came across Wolf pretty early in my serious collecting when I was looking, because when I got really serious about it, and which is, it's all Adam Craniotes' fault. When I started attending RedBar in the early, it was still a fairly small group of people, but the people at RedBar are very passionate about their watches, and I very quickly learned a lot of things about watches and very quickly amassed a reasonable sized collection. Mm-hmm. And I was like, where do I keep these things? so I looked around to see what was, like a really nice kind of watch box, like presentation box. And the first one I ever bought was a Wolf watch box. And then I got a winder. I don't remember where I got a Wolf winder as well, kind of early on, and then I didn't use it too much, but now I've got it. Now I've got the special edition one, and deploying to use it. Well, it was because I bought it to use with a specific watch, which I didn't wear very often. And so I wanted it to be, I wanted it to stay wound because it was an annual calendar and it was a pain in the ass to set the moon phase. And, so I wanted to keep it wound.
There you go.
But then I ended up selling it. So, so the other automatic watches I have are frequently rotated on my wrist. So that's why it didn't get used as much. But now that I have one that's very pretty, I'm gonna have.
You need a bigger collection of watches, and then you'll need even more.
More
winders. I mean, even if you own one watch, you still need a winder because none of us move enough during the day.
Well, now.
Yeah, especially now.
Well, yeah, absolutely now. Yeah.
My step count is appalling. So, but yeah. So, I wanted to also kind of give a little background on the collaboration. So, I figured this out, Simon. For everyone's benefit, Adam will remember this too. We met you guys for drinks to talk about doing a collaboration. It was 2017. And
This was a while ago.
The place where we met is called RedBar, and they closed in May of 2017.
We shut that place down.
We went in there, we drank, we talked about a collaboration, and then they were like, "We can't top that."
We came to fuck shit up, man.
Yeah, and then they couldn't top that, so they had to close. We started talking about this a long time ago, and we kind of didn't. We were tossing around ideas about what it would look like, and then finally we kind of got at Basel, RIP. We sat down. I sat down with you and Michael, and kind of went through all the options because you had your whole range of products sitting there, and we kind of went through all of the possible permutations of what the designs could look like, and went back and forth on some renderings and some samples. And the final product I have all sitting here with me is really just phenomenal. I mean, I could not have asked for a better product. I think they turned out really, really nicely. So what I'd like to hear from you before I start showing stuff is about that whole process. I know you guys, this is basically the first kind of brand collaboration that you've done, but you've done some other stuff like branded merchandise before. So if you could tell us a little bit about how that kind of comes about and how that works when you're working with another brand to come up with a unique kind of visual identity for the products and how that whole process works. Because I think it took us a long time to get the momentum going, but once we did, the process was actually pretty smooth from our perspective. So
yeah, well, I'm the head designer, and I have a team back in Los Angeles office that are in some ways better than I am at actually putting the whole thing together. And what we do is we sit with the customer and we listen, because that's the thing that most of us don't do very well. We talk a lot, and salespeople talk a lot. And I love selling, so it's part of my DNA. So we really listen very carefully to what you want and why you want it. And then your aesthetic, how does that fit with ours? And, over the years, we've done many, many collaborations with small and big brands, with retailers, with watch brands, with jewelry brands, and I could name probably 20 that we've got going right now. So the journey it can be very short. It just depends on timing. And I don't think you were quite ready when we first met. It was an idea, and it was a great idea, because here we are today with some really fabulous product. And it just sometimes it takes a bit of time. But I always say to my customers, we've been around for 185 years, and we'll be ready when you're ready. And so timing's everything. And when we started feeding you with renderings and design ideas, we very quickly got a sense of what you wanted, and how strong you wanted your branding to be, I'm not saying it's overly strong. It just depends on the customer and who are you then appealing to, and why are you appealing to them? In what way are you trying to make a connection with the RedBar crew? What is it you're trying to do here? So we listen really carefully so that when we build a sample, and we make samples by hand, and then we do production by hand. Everything's by hand. We use a CNC machine for cutting board and for cutting leather hides, because then we get the most benefit from a hide shape. We can computer generate the shape of it and then cut all the bits that we need out of the hide. But everything else is done by hand, whether it's the stitching, the folding, the skiving, everything's handmade. That's why you see what you see, Kathleen, and like it so much, because it has a weight in the hand, it has a feel in the hand, and you don't really get that by sort of machine processed product, unless you've got one of these, which is, made by machine, and it's a beautiful little thing in your hand. It feels lovely. So we're listening to the cues we get from the customer. We're understanding what the needs are. What in your case was quite easy, because you've just got watch fanatics, and we're pretty watch fanatic ourselves, and that's what we do. We get asked to do things outside of our remit, so to speak. We did the this is a crazy one. We did the guitar shaped pin case for Hard Rock Cafe. If you go in the Hard Rock Cafe, you'll see a little pin. They collect pins, guys that go to Hard Rock Cafe. We made that little wooden box. So we go off on tangents, but we don't really like those tangents so much as we like what we've done for you. So it's a great amount of detail, attention to detail, where the logo is, how big the logo is it gold foil, silver foil, is it enamel filled, so on and so forth. The devil's in the details.
Yeah, it really is, and obviously we're going to see it shortly. But I have to say, it seems easy when you look at the final product. And we were talking a little bit before that, and Kathleen, I'm sure, will agree with me that let's just say you let me design this from the ground up. It's like The Simpsons when Homer designs a car. It really would look terrible. It might say RedBar, but beyond that, it's not as easy, I think, as people think to put something together that's subtle, but at one point really speaks to the brand in question. And I'm still still amazed at what happened. So, and it was a process. We did get to see some samples and sort of say, well, maybe more in this direction, less in that direction, what have you. But right out of the bat, right off the gate, I think even if we had gone with the first iterations, it still would have been an amazing product. But it just got more and more refined. So it's impressive. I mean, I'm glad it's you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you. And a lot of people, I think, look at the box business and 6 sides can't be that difficult. It's got a hinge, bit of glass, bit of lining. But when you actually look at one of our boxes, and we do a huge business with the jewelry care and storage and travel for jewelry boxes and what have you, every individual piece is handled by hand and cut so that it fits inside, whether it's the bottom of the watch box, and then you've got the 4 walls. That actually is a piece of ultra suede that then is glued onto a piece of very thin card, so it's got weight, and then that's put inside. And if you start with substandard materials, you end up with just a bloody mess. So the materials are very high quality, and then the finishing of every single individual bit that is goes to make up the final product has to be pin sharp perfect, because if they're not, things are a little bit wonky. It's like building a brick wall, which I've tried once in my life. It just starts going on the piss like this, and then everyone's laughing at you and you don't have a barbecue. So yeah, it's every single step. I mean, right down to the stitching. We have probably about 25 people that work on the sewing machines, and they are just brilliant. They are so good. We have a new collection that we're launching called British Racing Green that's got a gold foil on the lid, and they're doing that by hand, and it's pin sharp. It's absolutely in a straight line. So it takes many years, and people think it's easy to make a box. I'm glad you bring it up. It's actually very, very difficult. That's why there's not very many people doing what we do to the level that we do it.
Well, yeah, and that's the key. It's the level, because I've got a few of the cheapies, And you really get what you pay for in this business. And I think a lot of people can agree with that maybe they made a mistake here or there in terms of purchases. And some people just soldier through because, screw it, it's just a box. But when you have something that's quality, it does make a difference. And look, we put a lot of money into our collections. There's no reason why it shouldn't be reflected in how we store it, and for us especially, how do we travel with it? At some point, I'm assuming, we'll be allowed out of our homes and we'll be able to gather again. And big part of RedBar, of course, is bringing the pieces out so that, you can share it with people and you can share with other people's collections. So it makes a difference, as somebody who is a cheap bastard. I have really sort of felt, well, I'm going to skimp on that and then I can put more money into the collection. I think especially with winders, people don't realize the difference between a cheap winder and a good winder. And you do wind up spending, all right, pun intended, you wind up spending more in the long run because, I'm sorry, Kathleen.
We got it actually, but
I know you got it the first time. Yeah, I just, it's Captain Obvious here, but you wind up spending more because you have to buy another one when it breaks. The second you turn it the wrong direction or you yank the thing off without turning, all of these things, are factored in there. So,
yeah.
So, we do have a question that goes back to the making of the boxes, but from Connor, how many man hours go into making each box?
1 million.
It's a great question, quite difficult to answer, because what we do is we'll be making a Viceroy single, and the Viceroy single has 40 different parts to it that have to have 3 to 4 steps on each part that is made individually for the large piece, for the finished piece. I would say it really depends on so many flows, but it's about a week of production to make a complicated watch winder, a Viceroy triple, something of that nature. It's about a 40-hour week to make. And again, it depends how many people we've got working on an item. But if we're making 100 of those, we can make at least 100 of them a week with 10 people on a production line.
Great. So I would like to do the reveal of a couple of the pieces, and we'll start with the roll. So this is going to be like, trust me guys, I'll have better pictures to show you in a second, but I'm just going to show you on camera the RedBar roll. So let's see if I can get there to not reflect. So this is it's really nice. It's a 3-watch roll. This is one of the things that's the attention to detail that I really like about Wolf, is that there's these little separators here on each of the components, so your watches aren't banging around on each other while they're in the roll, which I think
watch guards. We call them watch guards, Kathleen.
I mean, it's great because I've got
Kathleen.
We've been to like 9 million trade shows, and often sometimes there's a watch roll or something along those lines, or you buy a watch and someone gives you a roll as a gift and they don't have those guards. And so I find myself sometimes traveling with various watch rolls, and I'll open it up and the watches are each other, and that's nobody wants that. You don't want to, you want to put the scratches on the watch yourself. You don't want the watches to do it for you. So that's one of the things I think is one of the greatest pieces of detail about this piece. Like I said, I've got some high-res photos to show everybody this a little bit better than a zoom camera, but I also have the box, which here is 8-piece watch box.
Look at that.
Logo on it and all of that. I will say this too, you guys really did a perfect job on the color. The red is,
I was just gonna say, it's not easy as you think again.
Right. It's so striking, and it's like it's exactly what our logo is, but you can see here there's room for 8 watches in the box. And I am totally keeping this one.
Good.
Adam gets the roll.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
The next time you're swinging uptown to go to Dr. Mom's, I'll come down and socially distantly give it to you. Yeah, like I'll stand really far away with a mask on and hand it to you. But I'm going to share my.
Just throw it through the window.
Yeah, it's quite projectile shaped.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it would come off the wrist.
As I'm driving by, just.
Yeah, let me share. Let me share my screen here really quickly so you can see some better photos, better images of this, obviously taken by our photographer, Adam Moore. So this is the watch box in action, full of some of his watches. It's just a nice piece of kit. Oh, sorry.
Hey.
I could share my screen. I've got some pictures on our site that maybe I could show if you wanted me to.
Let me stop sharing. Share.
I can't share my screen because there's porn on it. Sorry. Gotta be me.
That's the roll. Let me do that a bit bigger. I don't know whether that really helps that much.
It does help. It looks fantastic. I really can't say enough, how proud I am of this. And, people are still are going to be, well, it's just a watch roll, they're just watch boxes. Oh, they're just, and obviously I'm going to be a little biased because it's nice to see, our logo out there. And of course it's an honor to partner with a company like yours, but the details are what makes this, the quality of it is what makes it. And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
I'm blowing it up so you can see just how pin sharp everything is. And this is production. This is handmade in production, but it's not one particular sample that we had that we touched up in any way.
Yeah, these are they're really, I'm just very happy with how they all turned out. So that's again, the box and the roll. Can you tell us a little bit about the winders? Because when I was talking about Michael, he was talking about being able to fit this kind of winder with all of the various functions and it has into such a small space. And so I'd love to hear some details about both the single and the double winder.
The story actually begins almost 25 years ago when I picked up a watch winder and I went, this is nice. I get what it does, but it doesn't do enough. It doesn't actually solve the problem of winding a person's watch. It just turns the watch, and not a very big watch. There's no control interface. It was an okay product, and it did what it said on the tin, which was fine. So I looked at it and I said, well, how can we improve it? The idea was always to mimic how a traditionally a watch would be on your wrist and you'd be walking to work. You'd be getting on a train, you'd be walking from the train to work. We all got far more exercise, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And maybe we're not as sedentary, but we don't take our watches to the gym in the same way. So we're not moving with our dress watches, with our nicer watches. And yeah, we're solving a problem, and that problem was that the watch isn't being moved enough. There's not enough movement to create the energy to swing the rotor that will tighten the mainspring, that'll keep all the complications going in your watch. So the idea for me was, how do I take this simple thing called a watch winder, not make it overly complicated to use, but make it do complicated things, so that if you weren't wearing your watch or you were not moving enough during the day, you could put it on the watch winder at night, or have your collection on multiple winders, and you could set it to the program that your watch required, the amount of turns per day. So we added turns per day, and then direction, because some watches only turn in an anti-clockwise direction, like a Patek will only wind in a anti-clockwise direction, or some the Pateks and some of the other watches. So turns per day number and rotation direction, and then a start delay for watches with power reserves. And we just started adding all these things into the product itself 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And then we realized watches did get much, much bigger than they were back then, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. You guys are much more in tune with when watches got large and got small again. But we realized that the original cuff we had wasn't large enough. So we made the cuff larger, but then we had the problem that the watch is weighted to the front and it would fall out. So what we did was we created a cuff with these lock-in slots on the side of the cuff that go into the drum. So the watch cannot fall out. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute. If a Rolex is supposed to turn 650 days bidirectional, I got to be able to let the customer choose that many turns. So we then invented a patent, or we designed the patent that counts turns per day. So everybody else in this business estimates using time. They've said that a watch of this weight during this time frame will turn this many times. And that's not that accurate. In fact, it's not accurate at all if you have a very heavy watch or a light watch. What we do is we actually have a quartz eye inside the gearbox, which we designed, and it counts the turns, counts how many turns. Now we know exactly that you get to 950 turns a day, or 1200, or whatever it might be. And this watch winder that we did for you is especially unique because it is based on our cub design, but it has the controllable module inside. So inside there's a computer chip, and we program that with all the algorithms for turns per day, direction, start, delay, and everything else. So the computer chip is talking to the drum, the motor, telling it when to turn off and on and which direction, all that good stuff. But we've never done a cub that's got these two knobs, these two control dials and the buttons to allow you to control direction and turns per day. We just figured, and this is where knowing your customer and listening to them is important. We figured that your membership, your RedBar members really know watches, and they need a watch winder that's programmable, and that's what this is. So you can go from 300 turns bidirectional to 1200 turns bidirectional, and you double every time. If you use a bidirectional setting, it doubles the amount of turns. And it also has a start delay as well, that you can go from 6 to 72 hours. And of course, the lock-in cuff.
So, to put a very fine point on it, this is the RedBar edition of this single watch winder is the only one of its kind with that programmable.
Excuse me. Yes, it is. We've never done a cub winder with the programmable interface. But we just knew that if we didn't do it for you guys, we might get a few complaints. Hey, a cub only does 900 turns per day. That's great, but I need 1200. Or I want to program it for 650, and you can see it count down on the little LED screen in the front there.
That's great.
Well, you can actually look up, the recommended turns per day for watches. I forgot there's a website that does, handle that. And there are other programmable type winders, but like I have one I received as a gift, with a purchase. It's a good winder, but if you want to program it, you actually have to plug it into your computer. It only works with Windows. Needless to say, I've never even tried it. Fortunately, the watch I have on it doesn't really give a rat's ass one way or the other. But to have this and to have it be so easy, it's kind of a big deal, frankly. Once you really start diving into how these things work and what's effective for individual watches, you're going to kind of wonder, well, why wouldn't I have had this from the start? Why doesn't everybody do it like this? And well, there's a reason, because it's not as easy. So
yeah. Well, you were mentioning there's a website that'll tell you how many turns per day. Well, we have the database right on our site. So
there you go.
If you need to look up a whatever watch, you put in the brand, the model, and it'll tell you. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Check in there.
So okay, that's cool. And then tell us about the dual winder as well, because we've got another that's got for 2 watches. Because I mean, literally everybody that's attending this has more than one watch. So
Yep. And because they have more than one watch, we wanted to give you the option of having a double winder. Each module is controlled by its own set of controls. I'm not sure whether yours come with a bridle cable. They should. The bridle cable allows you to connect 12 modules together with one power source. So you plug into the wall, and then you daisy chain off multiple winders. So you could take the single winder, the RedBar winder, you could take the double, and you can daisy chain them together off of just one plug in the wall. Just thought I'd mention that. And they both come with battery compartments as well. Batteries last up to 4 to 6 months. We figure most people aren't carrying these around traveling with them, so the battery life is fine. It's better to plug them in. So now you just have a double winder here that we're looking at. Show you some of the detailed shots, and they work independently of each other, as I said. So I would always buy the double because I'm always going to buy another watch. So yeah, why buy the single when you can buy the double? But if you buy the single, you can add the double, and then you can daisy chain them together. They all come with an adapter that has multi-pins, 4 different pins for use anywhere around the world. So you just slide off the pin, put on the other one, and away you go, wherever you are in the world.
That's great, and that's a good tip to know about being able to daisy chain them, because I did not know that before. So yeah, that's handy, because I suppose if you got as a collection grows, if you get multiple winders, that makes a lot of sense to be able to run it off of one plug.
I'm just asking the designer now if we included the daisy chain in with these, but we can sort that out for you guys if anybody needs one. No problem.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look. I've got all the packaging and stuff in the other room, but well, these are, like I said, we could not be more pleased with how all of this stuff turned out. And I think, the pricing's quite good as well, for what you're getting. The watch roll and the boxes are very nicely priced, and the winders too, for the quality that you're getting with these winders, with these programmable winders. I think the pricing is fantastic also.
Yeah, it's definitely worth noting that once you start looking or researching winders, there's sort of a line between the cheap ones, and then you start getting into the territory where they're actually made properly, and there is a jump in price, but the commensurate jump in quality is actually a fairly big one. And so for what you get, and I've done a little research on this in the past, and again, I'm typically usually broke, hence I don't have a lot of really great winder accessories, but the quality of these is incredibly competitive price-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do even a cursory search, you'll see that some of these things, now we're starting to talk $700 for a single winder, well over $1,000 for doubles, and you're not actually even getting the same level of flexibility or programmability here. So for somebody who's not versed in it, they might look and say, my God, how much? But once you start digging in, I have to say, Wolf gets a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, and some people ask, well, how can we, make things at such good prices? Should be much more. We've been doing it a very, very long time. We're buying leather, we're buying whether it's a metal hinge or a lock or the glass or the PC boards or all the mechanics that go inside. We've been doing it for so many years, and we have such a vertical supply chain, and most of the things we do ourselves as well. One of my biggest bugbears was always if we buy something from somebody else and bring it into our factory, it's like we had to then double check that it was 100%, and I got fed up with buying PC boards we don't design and make ourselves, but all the injection molding parts, the drum and the cuff, We do that all ourselves. We own all our own tools. We maintain them. So we know, how many impressions they have pushed out, and it just means that we do not have quality issues. And I'll mention that we have a 2-year warranty on all of our winders. If you ever have an issue, we take them back, we look at them, we can repair them, we repair them. If we can't, we'll replace with a new unit within 2 years. Every winder comes with a serial number on the bottom, so you'll want to go on our website and just record that serial number. But we have a less than 1% return rate, so it's never an issue. But it's there should you need it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We actually had a question in the Q&A about warranty and repair, so you've preemptively answered it for us, so thank you. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, I did notice that if you do have a product, you can go. There is a warranty registration area on the Wolf website directly that you can register your product. And you can also find the winding specs. So you've got all of the resources are right there. So Simon, can you tell us some more, like what's next for you guys? I mean, I know that the world is a little different currently, and the trade shows are not operating the way that they are. So I know that that's a way that you guys get yourselves out there.
Yeah.
Primarily. So what's, I know Geneva Watch Days is coming. There's a bunch of other kind of stuff coming down the pike, but are you guys changing the way that you're announcing new product or bringing it to market? And, is there anything else that you want to tell us about that's coming soon?
Yeah, we always launch new product at Basel. We weren't afforded that opportunity this year, and it's been quite an expensive misstep, let's just say, of not being there. It was the platform, one of a few, that we really, really reached so many of our customers globally. We have a big home business as well, because we have a big jewelry box business, and we do Maison Objet in Paris that we squeezed in January. But the demise of Basel and the future, what does it really hold for us? We will show up. We're going to Geneva Watch Days. We'll be there. We're planning on being back in Maison. We're talking to the folks in Switzerland about what might be in the future next year. We love trade shows. We do a lot of them. I have a permanent showroom in Atlanta. We do the Mexico City CR show. We did in Orgenta. We did Best of British last year in Shanghai. So we bounce around a lot, and being kept at home has been quite tough for us. But we just look forward to the future the whole time, and have been very optimistic that we'll get back out there. I hope that Switzerland comes together as a group and they put one show on. It would be so much better for all of us that we all play nice in the same sand pit. Yeah, I've got a pretty big ego, but let's put them all aside. So we can do what we all love, which is see and talk about watches, and Wolf can take care of them in a seamless way that we do. So we're not able to release product in the same way, but we're talking to all of our key accounts. And we're doing presentations like this. British Racing Green is the new collection, which launched, just recently, but it's been a very soft launch. And we have new additions to Roadster, to Axis, watch rolls that have got the Axis metal on the ends, and Roadster have got the wood. In the jewelry case collections, we've got Maria and some others. So, the internet is a wonderful thing, and newsletters, as long as you don't overfill people's inboxes, great way to tell people about what we're doing. I have an amazing marketing team that is so strong now, and our imagery, our photo shoots, that's how we'll get consumers to see, well, what's Wolf really all about. It's it's a product that stays at home. You don't wear it on your wrist and show it off, or drive it, or wear it as a handbag. But people identify with something that has a great design aesthetic, that does a really great thing for them, takes care of a problem perhaps, and they don't have to worry about. And so that's where we fit in. So I just cannot wait for us not to be locked down. I'm a traveler. I love getting on planes and flying somewhere and not really knowing where I'm going or who I'm meeting. But that's the joy of my job, is connecting people to our product, to our brand. So I hope for a unified Swiss watch show. That's
I
what
think we'll get our wish, but you bring up a good point. A lot of people were kind of cheering the demise of Basel, given, how the show is sort of, evolved over the years, and definitely been a little bit more arrogant, shall we say, in how they deal with people. But the value of the show, it's not just the watch brands, it's also, accessories and people like you. And I was going to say, Kathleen and I would have been having a drink with you in Vegas very recently at a Couture time, which of course, isn't happening. So, thank God we do have the technology. It's not a perfect substitute, but I love that this is a way that we can talk about our collaboration here and get the word out, of course. And obviously to anybody, watching, and of course, when all this stuff goes live, well, it is live. If we're not your cup of tea, you got to look at everything that Wolf has. The new collections are fantastic. So there's something for everybody with you guys.
I will mention too.
Ours is the best.
Yeah, ours is the best one, but all the other products are great too.
Yeah.
I will mention too that you guys. I don't know, how long ago was it that you started doing safes?
Yeah, the safes you guys do are incredible.
4 years ago, about four, maybe 5 years at the most, we started doing safes. Yeah.
So I have one, and I have to say, I like when you guys first started doing them, I was very excited because I knew they would be really nice, really nice safe. But I was able to order one when I was renovating an apartment, and I built a space for it in a room in my house, and was
able, little James Bondish,
fully customized, and it's basically just full of watches and a little bit of jewelry, but mostly watches. But I just loved it, and the experience of ordering it, and then the delivery guys were amazing, really legitimately amazing. They took such care to make sure that they didn't, they're rolling a several 100-pound object through my floors, which are original floors in a 100-year-old building. They were making absolutely sure that they took great care. So the whole experience from start to finish was fantastic. So I will give a shout out to that. And I just looked up on the website, the British Racing Green stuff, and I see this Churchill watch safe, and
thing is
palatial estate.
Can I share it?
Yes.
Now we haven't finished building our safe pages yet. It's going to be a much nicer feel. So I got the idea for this paneling of a piece of furniture. I was actually with Michael, and we were sitting in Colombia, go figure, and there was a piece of furniture that had this paneling, and they're like little sort of pyramid type things. I don't think I can make it any bigger than that. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to do that? That is so cool. So we started playing around with panels, and the green on my screen looks a little washed out. It's a much deeper, real British racing green color. So you can fill the whole thing with, I think it's 32 winders. You can have drawers that are for watches as well. And then the winders, of course.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a beast.
That's impressive.
I think it weighs 1,500 pounds or something.
Yeah. But I think the point that you're making there is like, you can see all the different permutations as you go through on the site. It's basically bespoke. You can say, okay, well, I want to have winders in my safe, or I want no winders and I just want drawers, or I want drawers that have, pillows for the watches to sit on. And you can kind of, there's a whole bunch of different options that you can select, which
it is totally bespoke. We don't keep these in stock, so to speak. And the new page, when it launches in a few weeks, basically takes you on that journey of designing your own safe, whether it's the color of the leather, or you like alligator, or you want ostrich and you want pink stitching, you want gunmetal gray hardware, whatever. We'll take you through that journey, so you end up with truly bespoke safe with Wolf watch winders inside that are all controlled by our app. We have an app that controls each individual module or all of them together, that's obviously you get that included.
Okay, we have a couple of questions. One is, when will the new RedBar products ship?
We got an order today. I don't know how the guy found out about it, but we got an order today.
Oh,
no, he did a newsletter, didn't we? It'll ship today. So you get me an order by 1 o'clock West Coast time, and it'll ship the same day.
Fantastic.
There you go. Get to it.
There's another question that's for me, which is whether I'm going to send out an email to all the chapter heads that they can push out to our members. And yes, I will do that. We were waiting to send that out until after we did this webinar. So all of the, obviously we'll be posting this on social media as well, and letting folks know that it exists. But I know that even with the newsletter, there's been a couple of the guys that are the chapter heads that have been like hovering on the site, because there was like a teaser page there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know some folks were very excited to see this come to fruition. So
and I wondered, Kathleen, will this spread outside of the US? And Canada or US, we can ship from our stock in the US easily, but if you get somebody in the UK where I am right now, then we'll have to figure out how we're going to get them a product.
There's a number of folks from UK chapters that are in here attending. So I know that I know some of them would like to purchase the items. So yeah, so it will be distributed to all our chapters, and we'll tell. I mean, if we post it on our regular social media channels, we have a worldwide audience. It's primarily, but it's a worldwide audience.
Well, I mean, this is kind of housekeeping stuff. Perhaps we shouldn't do it here, but
yeah,
let's work out a way of getting product to them so that they're buying in the US from that US stock, but we're getting it to them, so we can work that out.
Sounds great. Yeah, and so just in anticipation of some other questions that folks might have, there are we did a fairly limited run of this first run, but we if there's demand for it, we're ready to do some more. So so don't worry if you don't get your
the opening salvo.
Yeah, we're, like I said, we're really happy with how the product turned out. So so we're ready to do some more if folks want them. So the other thing I wanted to say is, thank you for your time, as always. We always appreciate hanging out and talking with you, even though we can't do it in person right now. We really appreciate this, and I'm really glad that we finally got these products out, because they turned out really well. So
yeah, well, it's a pleasure.
Not quite the same as getting drunk in Vegas, but we'll take it.
It's slightly less fun than getting drunk in Vegas. This is true.
This is gin.
Very good man.
It's 6 o'clock here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I know it's like the middle.
Unfortunately, this is just coffee.
Express. We're not drinking yet, or are we? I don't know.
We'll be soon.
But thank you again so much. I don't think we have any other questions. Adam, did you have any questions or comments?
No. I think I've said more than enough as usual. So I'll just leave it with a thank you and just, wow, I'm really impressed with how this turned out. I couldn't be happier with it. And I can't wait to actually, give my watches a nicer home.
Lovely.
And yeah, one day, I'm sure a Churchill safe is in my future. Again, I'm perennially broke, so it's not right now.
Well, to be fair, there are options that are slightly smaller than that one.
Still broke.
But thank you again so much, and we look forward to seeing you in person.
Yeah.
And hopefully.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
All right. We'll talk
Thanks.
soon. And thank you,
Okay.
everybody, for checking in. And remember, you can visit the website now and go peruse and order. Knock yourselves out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye.